Is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean7904 if you want to get all technical on me. That's the handle around the DFS streets. 5:30 on the East Coast, 2:30 West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time. Of course, Edmonton's time with the flagship show here today at Rotogrinders. That is called Grinderslive. Joining me today, it's a hump day, so we're going three-man booth, batting first, leading off. You know him from such things as the Blitz and the Bat. It's Derek Carty. What's going on, Carty?
Not much. Just plugging along.
Yeah, it's we got ourselves. Well, it's a 9-gamer. One of the Cleveland game is not. I don't know if they're playing. Was that second game canceled? Doesn't matter because it's a 7-inning doubleheader that was kicked off the slate on FanDuel, and I believe DK crossed it out as well. It may have been canceled. Doesn't really matter. Not in our world. Do we know this, Grant? I know you were actually. Hey, Grant, you can speak. What's up, Grant Nefer? He's also here. Yeah, Roth on Crunch Time yesterday gave the get rid of Cleveland at like 7:08 or whatever it was, basically, because the news didn't drop. They were rope-a-doping, and then apparently it didn't rain at all in Cleveland, or if it did, maybe a couple drops, give or take. But they allegedly just wanted to get that game off the schedule, and they delayed it. And Roth was like, "That's bad news." And I know you were scrambling, and Roth was upset too. Did you happen to get off your Cleveland stuff, or are you stuck with your Cleveland stuff?
I was stuck with a little bit. I got off basically Super Draft. I had all Cleveland stacks, so I just lost everything, but it wasn't a huge amount of money there. DraftKings I got off, and it still didn't matter because I wouldn't have cashed anyways.
Oh, you stacked a bunch of Arizona, right?
Yeah. Well, it was to stack the Yankees, to stack the Blue Jays, to stack Houston.
Yeah.
So half my stacks were good. Well, all but one of my stacks were good. That one stack was Arizona, which I had in every single lineup.
Carty, some days I look at the bat and I'm like, yeah, this checks out. This makes a bunch of sense. I'm on board with this. And some days I'm just like, you know what? I know Carty's a sharp guy. I trust the bat, is crunching the right numbers. It was spitting out C-Mart yesterday, and I'm like, no. I gave the quick nod wave, like, no, I'm going to X you out. I appreciate your thoughts. But, yeah, what was that? I'm assuming that's in the Bat channel as well. People are probably talking about like how in the world we're going to play C-Mart. I didn't play him. Did you play him? Did you back off that? Did that change, or was he actually still getting pumped out later in the night? Because that's what I was seeing.
I know it liked him, but most of the top optimals were Velasquez, which people were just as eyebrow raisy about, but that worked out really well. So
yeah, either way, you know what? That's kind of a good segue as far as the slate. Let's say hello to chat. What's up, chat? Do like, subscribe, turn on notifications, fire off some questions. Devin, our producer extraordinaire, is going to be compiling those questions and passing them along my way. I will be asking both Grant and Carty. If you guys want to say specifically for Grant, specifically for Carty, hey, specifically for me, by all means. Otherwise, we'll delegate them out. I guess Carty, you'll do the cash. Grant, you'll do the tournament questions. Overarching questions as well. Give us as much information as possible. The more information, tournament, is it for large field, single entry? Is it cash? Yada, yada. What site it's on? That's all helpful to help us answer those questions. But that is the segue, Carty. I wish he was a little bit more reliable. Into the price isn't necessarily great, and we certainly have some bats we want to pay up for today. But Aaron Nola is the best pitcher on the slate because the aforementioned Marlins, we picked on him yesterday with Velasquez. Of course, Nola's a better pitcher. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but, his ceiling games are really strong. He's got an extreme pitcher's umpire. And have I mentioned he's facing the Marlins? How much are you prioritizing Nola today?
Pretty much all the way. It's kind of a gross pitching slate after Nola. Like he's the clear top guy, and there's nobody else to really get that excited about. And so, especially on DraftKings, like you're definitely prioritizing Nola in cash. On FanDuel, I think you can make the case for either him or Bassett, but he's clearly the top guy. The only difference is on DraftKings, Bassett is more expensive, and on FanDuel, you save like, I don't know, like 3K or something going down to Bassett. So Nola's awesome. He's facing the Marlins, high strikeout offense. They do get a park upgrade. So it's not like a perfect spot, but Nola's really, really good, has one of the longest leashes on the slate, extreme pitchers umpire. Actually, it might be the best pitchers umpire at this point. So it's a really good spot for Nola.
Who was the guy that was the Mike Trout of umpires? Has he been superseded by the guy that's now the Ohtani of umpires?
Yeah, there's no that was Bill Miller, and for a little while he was like above everybody. Now it's like, there's nobody that's like, heads and shoulders above everyone else. So, but this guy Phil Cuzzy projects it looks like is the fifth best right now. So, this is definitely a good spot for Nola.
Yeah, not an elite K rate, but a good one, 28.3%, 5.8% as far as the walks. That both checks out. That's both good. 339 as far as the Sierra. What's kind of annoying to some degree, I guess, the Marlins traded for Joe Panik. That was just a salary dump. They're pushing off of Corey Dickerson and gave a reliever to Toronto.
So excited to see Corey Dickerson with the Blue Jays, by the way. And I'm going to be so pissed if guys like Lourdes Gurriel are playing over him once he gets healthy, because he improves that team by a good amount.
That's funny you say that, because I thought I thought the reason why they made the trade was for the reliever more than Dickerson, and I thought that they already have. Oh God, who's the Husky first baseman they have from the left-hand side? Who's
Rowdy?
Yeah, like Rowdy Talese, like Gurriel, and they have plenty of outfielders, it seems, and they're fully healthy.
They don't have a lot of lefty bats, though. It's basically just Rowdy, and that's kind of it.
Biggio.
Yeah, Biggio on the left side as well, too. But jump in here, Grant. And I was going to say that the point I was making is that Joe Panik came back to Miami. Obviously, Miami doesn't think Joe Panik's going to be good. But, he doesn't strike out a lot, obviously. Sanchez, not a big number as far as striking out this season, but I think that's fraudulent. It's a small sample size. He'll strike out plenty, but Rojas in the lineup, he's not a big K guy either, but there are some Ks there with Jazz and Duvall and Sandy Leon. They have the worst catcher as well. Jump in here, Grant. Aaron Nola, in or out?
I'm in. I have three pitchers as of right now. Nola is one of them. I mean, he obviously draws a matchup versus the Marlins. Like, it's not really the greatest pitching weather in the world there. It's going to be 95 degrees, which is what worries me. I might end up swapping off of Nola a decent amount. Like, current ownership, we have him at 56%. And while matchup versus the Marlins is a good one, it's not the best strikeout matchup. It's not the worst, but the ballpark and the weather is what scares me away. So at 56% ownership, I think there is some decent merit to fade him. And I think what you want to do is Ohtani. His ownership has been going up like throughout the day, like our projections. Obviously, they're working on stuff, but I don't think that he's going to be heavily owned. Like we talked about this before the show. I don't think he's going to be heavily owned. And I think that the fact that projection systems are a little bit lower on him, I know the bat is, the fact that they're like, if you look at just at a glance, obviously Roth is going to have to give us the okay or not. But if you look at it at a glance, the weather is something to worry about. So those people who said it earlier on the day are probably just going to go with a different pitcher that doesn't look like they're going to be in a weather game. Ohtani's going up against the Yankees. The Yankees are without Judge. They're without Ursula. And Ohtani's just been striking out righties at a massive clip. And the only two lefties in the lineup are just hot trash in Odor and Gardner. So, like, he's got a 40% or 42% K rate, I think, on this season going up against righties. And he's going up against 7 of them and then 2 just complete trash lefties. You're not really going to, like, he can get a little wild. Yes, there's an extreme hitter's umpire, but he's just so good and has such a high K rate. We saw him get up to 100 pitches in the last outing. I'm not fully expecting that again. Even if he's at the 85 pitch range, his control has been a lot better over the last, month and a half, 2 months, whatever it is. I don't know. Time is a flat circle. But his control has been pretty solid recently. Yes, he can get a little wild at times, but more than likely he's going to walk 1, maybe 2 batters in all likelihood. Judge isn't in there, which is a big boost for not walking guys. Like Voigt's batting second. The guy has been striking out a huge clip this season, not a huge sample size, but it's just a solid overall strikeout matchup, just putting context neutral the fact that he strikes out 42% of righties. When you include that in, it's a fantastic matchup. And the 5.16 implied team total for them is going to make Ohtani go under-owned.
Yeah, so I'm going to have Cardi rebut in just a second. It's hot there in Yankee Stadium, 92 degrees, wind blowing out for what it's worth. And yeah, it's sort of a small sample as far as those strikeouts versus righties.
There's literally identical weather, by the way, between Philly and New York.
Yeah, but it's not identical offenses.
That's true, but you're not getting identical price or ownership either.
You're not getting identical projection either, though.
Can we keep doing this back and forth the entire show?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get where Grant's coming from. Like, ownership and upside is certainly in Ohtani's favor today, but the weather is awful. The Yankees offense is elite. They're not even an especially high strikeout offense. And his leash is always really short. I know he went deep last outing, but like, this is a guy who's normally like 85 pitches in a normal start. You know, if he's giving up runs to the Yankees, like, he could be out in the third or the fourth inning here. And a guy with control issues matched with an extreme hitters umpire is not ideal.
We talked about the other day with Andrew Heaney, like saying the extremes, and like we could see.
It's also worth noting Ohtani's spin rate has been down quite a lot in his last few starts.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like there's extreme outcomes there. I can see Ohtani striking out 9 or 10, and I can also see him getting knocked out in the third or fourth inning. Neither would surprise me. But you know, just the nature of the slate, and I think he's gonna be more popular than what our ownership suggests as of right now, our lineup HQ. And of course, this gets tinkered with the closer we get the lock, and the more information we get, and the more lineups that come out, and yada yada. But currently, it's at 18% on DK. It'll be lower on FanDuel, obviously, because you're only rostering one pitcher. Grant, you think that number is correct? I think it'll be around 25 personally. Like, I mean, you probably think it's going to be lower the way you're talking.
So you have to look at the rest of the pitchers on the slate as a whole, and you have to take into account how much people look at Vegas odds. Like, Vegas odds are, some people only look at Vegas odds. There's a spot in my DFS career where I would literally just pull up the starting lineups page, scroll through, look at Vegas odds, and make my decisions almost entirely.
That's true. Then like Dallas Keuchel and Zach Greinke will be owned more.
I mean, not entirely, but people know strikeout rates. Like,
yeah,
they look at, all you have to look at is Vegas odds and strikeout rates, and that 80% of the time can determine stuff. Well, the thing is that Ohtani strikes out 40% of righties, but you look at Luis Garcia, 9.9K, he's 1,200 more, 3.26 implied team total for the Orioles. I think that he's going to be heavy around. You look at Bassett, even though he's 10.5K, he's going up against the Rangers. The Rangers are a fantastic matchup. It's a fantastic ballpark. It's good pitching weather, and the Rangers have a 3.1 implied total against them.
It's the highest tag ever for Bassett, by the way. Is he ever been this expensive? I'm not saying he's certainly playable, but there's certainly a sticker shock to the Hound. We used to attack this guy 3-4 years ago. 10, I understand it's a nice matchup and a nice ballpark, but he's also not this extreme strikeout pitcher, but he should be fine. It just, and you mentioned, Garcia, he's kind of a no name, but he's been fine, good K rate this season, 27.4%, a fly ball guy for what it's worth, and big favorite, I'm sure, today versus Baltimore. It's just, I feel like people are just falling into Ohtani, and also Ohtani's just like a fun player to roster. No, I don't understand more. So
you're not going to get an argument from me there. Like, Ohtani is fun, but I just don't think this is the spot for him.
Oh, wait, yeah. I feel like we should make a bet.
What's the bet? What's the wager? Well, wait, are we betting on ownership? Because my argument, I actually like Ohtani today as a play in tournaments on DK as an SB2. So I was
talking about Ohtani versus Nola. I think Ohtani outscores Nola.
Just straight up?
Yeah, that's what I'm willing to bet.
All right, I'll take it. Shop bet?
Yeah, bet.
You know what, Grant? This will be synergy. For the sake of our show tomorrow night, chat, listen up. This will be fun. Myself, well, Grant, you can talk about it as well too, but I'll just set I'll lay it out for the people, and Grant, you can kind of knock it home. But myself, I will be the moderator. Yourself, SBK Keach, you guys know him from the projection team here for all sorts of sports. He used to pop on the shows for basketball. But you're going to be giving some live. We're going to be live betting. We're going to be live betting the Milwaukee Atlanta game tomorrow night right here on this channel. That's why you hit the like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There you go. Wink, wink. But yeah, if you want to make that bet, we can pay off that bet tomorrow night. I will take the Nola side versus Ohtani, although I like both. But for the sake of whatever. Grant, anything you want to add as far as what you plan on doing for that show?
I don't know. I'm probably gonna grab a bottle of wine, drink it straight from the bottle throughout the course of the show, and bet huge amounts of money on both sides of the game throughout the game. I mean, my favorite thing to do with live betting is to have 5 different sites open. So I'll have 3 screens going. I'll have 5 separate browsers up with BetRivers, with BetMGM, with FanDuel, with DraftKings. Not actually BetRivers.
You set it up where you can't lose, basically, right?
A lot of times, yeah. There's a lot of times where I pretty much have like $4,000 on both sides of the game because of bad lines. Because live betting, there's been certain times where you can find arbitrage situations between just FanDuel and DraftKings, where you can get minus 130 on the Bucks on one site and plus 140 on the Hawks on the other site at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be doing a lot of that, seeing how it works. I may end up losing a few G's. I don't care. It'll be fun. But yeah, we'll see.
Hang out.
And then me and Keach are going to actually have a competition.
Yeah, mute Marv Albert. I think it's Marv Albert. Or is it? I don't. It's the Marv Albert series for Milwaukee. I'm pretty sure. I mean, 80 years old, good run, but come on. Hubie Brown is 87 years old and still the color analyst for TNT. It's amazing what he can do at 87. I'll give him that. All right, well, this is a baseball show. What are you talking about basketball for? Cardi, how are we making things work from a salary perspective? Of course, we're going to talk about Houston and Toronto, 2 teams with big team totals. They're also plenty expensive. You talked about Nola. Feel free to talk about Bassett if you want to sell there. I don't know if you're going to make it work with Cease, but we talked pre-show as far as a cheapie. It's more like a last man standing because there's no other cheapies, which kind of concerns me. I think he's going to be super heavily owned. But your thought process after Nola, who's your SP2?
I don't think there's a clear SP2 tonight. I think there are several viable options. The guys that I would likely be choosing from are Chris Bassett, Luis Garcia, and Bailey Ober. Bassett is the best of them, but like you said, have we ever seen Chris Bassett at 10.5K before? It's crazy. But it's kind of a crappy slate for pitching. He's facing, a weak Rangers offense, getting a big park downgrade, easily the best pitching weather of the night in an elite pitcher's park. It's 58 degrees there. Nowhere else is under 70. So this is a good spot for Bassett. It's just that he's pricey. Luis Garcia is facing the Orioles. He's a solid enough pitcher, but leash is always a little bit short. Orioles don't strike out a ton. And he's close to 10K, which is just more than you want to pay for him, which leaves you with Bailey Ober, who is actually an okay pitcher. Like, he's not amazing, but he's he projects as an above average pitcher. And he's going to have a super short leash because he always does, but that's kind of baked into the price. He's 5.7K. He's against an overrated White Sox offense. It's probably the second best pitching weather of the day there. Low 70s, wind blowing in from center field, extreme pitcher's umpire. And so I don't have a problem if you just want to save money with Ober to be able to spend on offenses. And I do think there's a couple overrated offenses today, but whichever offenses you want to prioritize, Ober does let you get them.
Oh, I just want to mention, I just dropped this in chat for the people. Roth did update his weather. Kansas City, Boston is now orange, just a straight orange. I think it was like orange yellow earlier. So it looks like it's getting a little bit worse. You were going to want to keep an eye on that. Of course, if you guys have premium, why don't you have premium? Get yourself $10 off the first month. We'll go ahead and drop the link in chat for you guys. You can get it just for baseball or all the sports with the exception of NASCAR. Roth will let you guys know what's going down on Crunch Time tonight, right up to the minute. Anything else that's dicey? Yellow, orange in Cincinnati, yellow, green in Atlanta. You guys can read it at your own leisure there. Feel free to read that link there in chat. Grant, how do you feel about what I anticipate, what it seems like we're going to have a very chalky Bailey Ober, who may, if things are going well, may pitch 5 innings, but that's a little optimistic.
I have 100% in him right now.
Okay.
Which is not something I'm happy about. And it's not because he's a great play. So the guy is very solid going up against righties. I know we have a small sample size of just 44 play appearances going up against righties, but you look at his pitch mix, you look at his slider, he's got a very good slider. He's got a decent fastball going up against righties. The problem is like stuff versus lefties. His changeup isn't fully there. His curve, which he uses as an out pitch going up against the lefty, isn't fully there. And he's facing 5 lefties. The main thing is, though, he's also facing 4 righties, and he's 5.7K. Like, this guy's probably at this point in his career a well above average pitcher versus righties. and a slightly to very below average pitcher versus lefties. And his numbers on the season versus lefties at 626 WOBA, 433 ISO are not accurate. Like realistically, he's due for some positive regression there. But overall, like he might have a 5-inning leash today. And there's just not really much else to do. I mean, it's between him and Allard. And the problem with Allard is he is 1,500 more, 1,600 more. And that makes it a little tough. I still will have some of him. Any builds that I have I'm going to wait and see on ownership, but any builds I have both Ober and Nola in, I think I have the exact right amount of money to swap over to Ohtani and Allard. And I think it might end up being the better way to go because you're getting literally a third of the ownership. You have the same upside, but you just have a lot more downside. So it could end up going wrong, but as of right now, I have 100% ownership in Ober, and I'm probably going to drop that down a bit.
Yeah, I don't feel great about it either, but we talked about it pre-show. It's like he's sort of the last man standing. Like Holloway, you're not going to play. Matt Harvey, Sheffield, Perez. I mean, he's a bad option, and there's weather. Gutierrez, 521. Sierra's been lucky so far this year to have an ERA under 4, and San Diego's got a good offense, obviously in a nice ballpark. You mentioned Allard. I mean, he's another guy that's not going to go necessarily too deep as far as his pitch count. Peterson, Matt's coming back from the IL. Fried as well from the IL. Herman versus the Angels, bad weather. I mean, the thing
with Ober is he's not even bad. Like, I get that he feels gross, but the leash is really the bad part of this here. Like, he's actually, like, sample sizes are small, but he's dominated every single level he's been at. He hasn't had a strikeout rate under 10 per 9 at any level. And he's had elite control, sometimes under 1 walk per 9 at every single level. His xFIP this year is 3.84. And we're dealing with small sample sizes, but like this is a guy that projects as an above average pitcher. It's not like this is a bad pitcher that we're just kind of hoping and praying with. Like this guy actually is talented.
Yeah, the splits are super dramatic, but in 34 plate appearances, a 626 WOBA and a 433 ISO. We're not freaking out about that, are we, Cardi? Like that's obviously horrendous. And
no, the bat actually projects him for an average platoon split, based on historical, based on his arm angle, based on what he throws. So I'm not overly concerned about that.
I ran off some names there, Cardi. I'm assuming none of those guys, did any of those guys do anything for you? Harvey, Sheffield, Holloway, Perez, Gutierrez, Grant mentioned Allard.
I think Allard's the one you can make a case for, but I don't think it's necessary. If you just kind of limit yourself today to Nola, Bassett, Garcia, Ober, I think you're fine. Maybe Musgrove. I think you're fine.
And Fried, didn't they say Fried's going to have a short? Am I getting Fried and Matt's confused?
Yeah, Fried's not going to have a long leash. I haven't seen exactly what it's going to be, but the bat has it at has him throwing 85 pitches.
And the same deal with Matt's, right? Both those guys, we're assuming it's going to be relatively.
Matt's is going to be 75-ish probably. He threw a 60-pitch simulated game last Thursday, I think.
I kind of skipped over Garcia and Cease. I think they're certainly playable. Do you have any thoughts on those guys, Cardi?
Garcia, I like. I think Garcia is a plenty good play on this slate. Cease, I like less. He's expensive. The matchup isn't especially good. His spin rate on his fastball is down 237 RPM over his last 3 starts. That is a big, big number. And I'm not one to overreact to this stuff, but it's not like he projects that well anyway. And so I'm not going out of my way to play a guy like that.
Grant, give us your final perspective. I know you said it a couple times, basically 3 pitchers you're looking at. Your final thoughts as far as pitchers before we move on and talk about some sticks.
Yeah, pretty much. I have 4 pitchers. I'm fine with Bassett. I'm fine with Garcia, but it's Ober, it's Ohtani, it's Nola, and it's Lard, and that's it.
Yeah, I would agree. Also, worth reiterating on FanDuel. I don't know if you have to get the Nola in your cash games. I'm okay with Bassett where the price is distinctly different as opposed to DK, and you're saving 1.5 give or take. If you need that salary, I'm okay stepping down to even if you're playing cash games on FanDuel. I think Bassett, Cardi, I know you hate the term, but he feels pretty safe, right? I mean, as safe can be. He feels not as safe can be.
I hate safe. I think he's a good play. I don't think he's safe by any means. He's Chris Bassett. But I do think it's a good enough spot. He's talented enough. You get enough of a discount on FanDuel where I'm totally fine with him.
Before we talk about the bats, do you want to mention the DFS OGs? They have returned. They're back. Beer, Chop, and Noto. They have a podcast for talking NFL. Every single Wednesday is going to be dropping, not just audio-wise. There's video as well. I assume it's going to be on this YouTube channel. Of course, I would imagine it's also and go on Rotogrinders. Well, Devin, go ahead and drop the link for the people as far as where you can check out. They're talking about best balls. Is that something, Cardi? You into the? I know you're big into the regular season with the blitz and all that. Do you care a ton for what's going on right now? You have an ear to it, I'm sure. But is this something you're focusing on, or is it more baseball right now?
No, actually, I'm getting ready, hopefully soon, to launch a season long version of the blitz that you'll be able to. Yeah, so I've been working on that, so that'll be coming along soon, I think, hopefully. So
check out that podcast. They're sponsored by FanDuel. They're talking bets. They're talking futures, season-long picks. There you go. Good times. So it's always fun listening to Beer, Chop, and Noto talking some football. All right. Let's talk the stacks first. I think that's a good conversation to have before we kind of dig. Who wants to talk catcher, right? Grant, you have any bold proclamations as far as your favorite stacks? I want to hear Cardi has to say, because he said a couple are overrated. I wonder which ones he thinks are overrated. Grant, your favorite stacks as far as this slate tonight? And obviously, well, it's Houston and Toronto on paper, but salary is kind of tricky. But how about what are your lineups popping up?
I have predominantly Royal stacks. I don't think they're going to draw enough ownership. Yes, there's a lot of cheap bats in the lineup, but I don't think that many people are going to be on a lot of these guys. I know that Soler and Dozier are going to be high owned. They both have a lot of pop. They both grade out well as good picks going up against Perez with the platoon split. But KC overall, like all these bats, I'm entirely fine with. Perez is not a great overall pitcher. He hasn't been great for most of the season. He's been good versus left. He's very bad versus right. He's giving up a lot of hard contact, a lot more fly balls. It's in a great pitcher or hitter's ballpark in Boston. They are the away team, so they're going to get that 9 innings of at-bats. And I'm fine with using some of the guys at the bottom of the lineup outside of Hanser Alberto, who I refuse to play. Him and Nicky Lopez. Anyone who's batting in the ninth
is terrible.
Yeah, anyone who's batting in the 9 hole of the Royals is just entirely off my radar. But everyone else, 1 through 8, I'm entirely fine with. I mean, even though Hearn has had some decent outings recently, and I don't think Perez is going to go that long because it's 85 degrees in there and it's pretty humid. I think he's going to get beat up pretty badly. And the over-under on that game is 11. I think it's still, I think it's going to hit the over. Like, I really like this spot for both Boston and KC. Outside of that, I like mini stack of the Padres because I love Tatis, obviously, Machado, Cronenworth. And then Houston is a stack that just because they have those cheaper bats near the bottom, and the outfield is just perfect because they're going up against Harvey. We want lefties versus Harvey. Brantley and Tucker are far too cheap at 4.5 and 4.3K. And you can throw in guys like Straw, like Garcia, even Castro if you want down towards the bottom. So you can stack it up with a 5-man stack pretty easily throwing into those outfielders. And then the cheap bats at the bottom with one of Alvarez, Correa, or Altuve. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. I know that I'm going to be on some of the chalkier stacks, but I think that Houston's going to go a little bit under-owned going up against Harvey. Because they're price tags, and I think that Casey's going to go very under-owned on this slate outside of Dozier and Slayer.
Well, they might go very unknown. It's a lot of it's weather dependent, and again, Rothat right now has it orange, and you're going to want to stay tuned for crunch time for that. His little write-up, his blurb says almost definitely a late start coming for Boston. I lean towards them being able to play after the late start, but that depends on patience, the field holding up, etc. I have it orange for a likely delay and possible postpone. So, and that's what. I think that's a 7. Like that's right out the gate, right? In Boston, They start with 7:0. Yeah, 7:10. So you have a few minutes after a lock. So you're going to want to, pay attention there, obviously. And I imagine the weather, depending on how dicey it may or may not look, will affect ownership as well. Well, what say you, Cardi, as far as your favorite stacks? I feel like freaking Bill Murray and Groundhog Day. I hear Sonny and Cher with "I Got You, Babe." It's Toronto and Houston. I swear they've been the stacks like for the last 3 months or something. And I think Matt Harvey's pitched versus Houston at least 4 times in the last week. Is this just me? I feel like it's happening every single day. But Cardi, your favorite stacks tonight?
Yeah, I mean, those are the 2 that I think are overrated tonight. I think they're going to be overowned. Like they're fine. Like they're great offenses. The spots are good. But I don't think they're going to warrant being, as higher owned than everyone else as it looks like they're going to be. I prefer the Padres, and I am with Grant on. I really like both sides of the KC Boston game.
What do you think about the White Sox? I'm starting to look into it more. And if Ober's projection for ownership goes up, like he's a solid overall pitcher, but doesn't Minnesota have like the worst bullpen in the league?
It's not been good. I mean, yeah, with what I've seen, it's
I
not
think it
been
had,
good. But
like last time I checked, it was the highest xFIP in the league at 4.94.
It's still a bullpen though. Even the worst bullpen is going to be okay, and you have a good pitcher, a pretty good pitcher, like starting it. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah,
I don't know
but
White Sox
like,
are for me.
yeah, and the main thing is like I want to use the lefties. I want to use the lefties in this lineup because, like, you may think that Ober is a very much normal splits pitcher. I'm under the assertion that he is more of an extreme splits pitcher, and Minnesota, I think, has what, 3 arms that are lefties in the bullpen. I think they have one of them available. So targeting the lefties, and Goodwin is 3K, like Sheets is 2K, just so cheap. Moncada and Grandal are both solid bats. And so I'm not really worried about lefties coming in for any of these, for the 2 non-switch hitter lefties. And they're not going to come in any ownership. You get leverage off the other side. I'm starting to talk myself more onto it because, like you said, we're probably only getting 4 innings of pitching from Ober. And you may think the White Sox are overrated, but they're going to come in at 0 ownership because of that. And they have some solid bats, none of which are over 5K.
Maybe
I just wouldn't buy into that platoon split too much. Like, I don't see any reason to really expect that to be a thing. Like, he's fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. And it's a 4-seamer. It's not a sinker. Like, the slider is the only pitch that would make him an extreme splits guy. And he's throwing his other secondary pitches more than the slider.
I'm looking at the bullpen here, Grant, by the way. 3 lefties. Mlb threw 43 pitches yesterday, so he's probably not available. Rogers hasn't pitched for 4 days or so, and Fibar has pitched on Sunday 30 pitches, so he's available if needed, I'm sure. I was just thinking like maybe they would piggyback if he only goes, the starter today only goes like 4 innings or so, depending on the game goes, obviously. But Griffin Jacks has 4 days rest, and he's kind of a long man. He was a long man last time out. Maybe he's the guy that comes and relieves. We shall see. Stay tuned on that. All right. Catcher, let's knock out. We're going to go around the horn. And of course, we're going to get some questions there from the chat. Fire off your question. If you haven't done so just yet, we'll do our best to get to that question. End of the show. Devin is procuring those questions, and he'll be passing them along to me later on in the show. Do like, subscribe, turn on notifications. That does help keep the proverbial lights on. Who wants catcher? Who wants to talk about this amazing position? Somebody say first.
Salvador Perez.
Well, what kind of salary you have? Do you have all the money in the world there, Grant? How can you pay for Sal Perez?
When I'm stacking up the Royals, yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's true.
Soler, Dozier, Taylor, Olivares.
They're pretty
all
cheap.
Those guys are super cheap.
Okay. Let's say that game gets rained out. Are you playing a catcher?
If that game gets rained out, then I'm just done for the night and I lost all my money.
Well, no. Let's say it gets rained out like 6:57.
Okay, if it gets rained out at 6:57, then I just round out your stack. I think that Grandal and like I'm talking myself more and more onto things like Mercedes is 3.4K, Grandal is 4.8K with the platoon split, obviously because he's a switch hitter. But I'm still more on the edge of Ober's. Changeup is not as great as it seemed like in the minors. But like really like.
Cardi gave a whole breakdown there. You're just not waving him?
Huh?
Cardi just gave a whole breakdown for you.
Yeah, I know he gave me a whole. Yes, I am. Like, yes, I straight up am. Like, Cardi's going off of historical data, which is generally a good thing to do based on what type of pitch mix the pitcher has. Generally, in the past, pitchers with a fastball, slider, changeup, curve have been historically normal splits pitchers because changeup's a great out pitch for lefties. Or opposite-handedness, sliders are a great out pitch for righties. It's always how it's been. But the main thing is his slider is very good. His changeup still needs some work, and he's struggling a bit with location going up against lefties because his changeup, he's not be able to pinpoint it that well. So that's kind of the problem. It's not that he won't be a normal splits pitcher in the future, and his changeup did look good in the minors. But right now, so far, even though it's a small sample size, he's been absolutely crushed on his changeup every single time he's gone out. So lefties have obliterated him so far this season. Like literally have he has the widest platoon split, I think, in the entire league right now
like
in terms of
bats,
WOBA, terms of it's 40 at bats pretty much to both sides. But that's all I'm saying is like he's going to figure out eventually this guy's going to be very good. It's just right now he's not able to fully locate it. And that's basically what it is.
Or do you want to rebut or you want to give some catchers?
We've talked enough about Bailey Ober. I'm with Grant though. I love Salvador Perez. I love KC stacks tonight. You're not playing him in cash games because you have JT Realmuto. If you want a high-end catcher, Realmuto's clearly the guy. I like Philly a lot tonight. Also against Holloway, Park downgrade for him. Really good hitting weather. Holloway is one of the weaker pitchers on the slate. So Realmuto, middle of the order catcher, best hitting catcher in baseball probably. He's just underpriced. So 4-3 for Realmuto is great. If you need to save money though, as much as I think Houston is a little overrated tonight, like you can certainly play Jason Castro at 2-7 against Matt Harvey. That is totally fine to do. Luis Torrens at 2-3 with an advantage against Mats is too cheap. Like he's fine to save money with. Max Stassi, I think a lot of the Angels bats are underpriced tonight. Like I do think that they're going to be a little sneaky as like either just like cheap one-offs or like a mini stack for you or something like that. And a guy like Stassi could certainly fill the catcher spot for you.
What's going on there, by the way? Are they still deciding if Ohtani's going to hit or not? It's an hour before the game starts. We have no lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's Joe Madden first. So I think first and foremost, it's Joe Madden. And second, I think it's probably is Ohtani.
Oh, I hope he doesn't get scratched, like as far as a pitcher. But
maybe he didn't make it to the park. Maybe he's still trying to get there on public transit. And I'm not sure if he's going to catch the connection.
Yeah, that was a shout out to, was that Oakland or San Francisco? It was one of those ballparks.
Well, they were playing Oakland and then they were playing San Francisco. So they stayed in San Francisco. And yeah, he couldn't make it across the bridge in time.
You mentioned Realmuto, like in the expert survey today. Is this bold enough? I said Philadelphia will be the highest scoring team on the slate. Is that a bold call? Yeah, it's got to be a bold call. It's got to be off the reservation. Anybody like that?
I think it's fairly bold, but also fairly realistic. I like Philly quite a bit today.
Yeah, I like the Philly side. Holloway in that Marlins bullpen is, and they traded away one of their, legit one of their arms. They're doing their salary dump thing there. All right, let's talk about first base. We got to pick up the pace if you want to save some time for the chat.
Oh, by the way, the Angels lineup just came out. I think Ohtani's batting leadoff.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I mean, come on, let's let him homer and like strike out 10. That'd be amazing.
It's actually kind of nice for the Angels stack because you can just kind of skip him. You don't have to like have the dead spot in there.
It only took Joe Madden 80 games to realize that maybe he shouldn't be batting. Who was the litany of terrible hitters he's had lead off? Fletcher, Turner Ward, maybe at one point. Who knows? It's not worth getting into. First base, Cardi.
The cleanup hitters have been even worse, though. We're not going to get into it.
Gosselin's cleaning up today.
Yeah, I mean he has no options, but man, you got to do better than that. First base, Jared Walsh in that lineup. I assume he's in the lineup today, probably hitting cleanup or something like that. So Jared Walsh, I like quite a bit. Hunter Dozier, I really like. I just think the Royals in general, a lot of these guys are underpriced. Big park upgrade against a mediocre lefty. So those guys would be the ones I'd be looking at most at first base. On FanDuel, I think you can make a case for Luke Voit against Ohtani or Sanchez against Ohtani because they're just so freaking cheap. I think you can make a case for Realmuto over there. I think Brad Miller is cheap enough where you can punt with him because you are going to need to save a little money if you want to get up to Nola today.
I like the Hoskins price on FanDuel too. He's
Hoskins is fine. Yep.
All right, give me by the way, Stassi is not catching. It's Suzuki for what it's worth. Grant, first base.
I'm punting entirely with Dozier and Chavez. That's it. If I could pay up for Guerrero, I would. If I could pay up for Alonso, he's in a solid spot. Voigt's not bad, but he's going up against Ohtani. Like Santana, I just have only Dozier and Chavez, and that's it.
If you want to pick on over a little leverage, Gavin Sheets is 2K on DK, and you need those 2K players today to open stuff up. And he's got legit power. I think he had a 70 grade, if I'm not mistaken, on the 80 scale in the minor leagues. So, and he had a nice little debut yesterday for what it's worth. Looked decent in the box. All right, second base, Cardi.
It looks like we don't have Rengifo in there today, so he's out. But Kike Hernandez, I think, is pretty clearly a good play today. You may know him as noted lefty masher, Kike Hernandez.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, and he's facing a lefty today in Fenway, leading off. So I think Kike is a very good play today. especially without Rinky. Though I think he's like clearly the guy. I think you can make a case on FanDuel for Odor because the Yankees are so cheap, certainly in a stack there. Nick Maton is cheap enough in Philly if you need to save some money. You know, Dylan Moore, you know, if you're doing like a cheap Seattle thing, or Segura in your Philly stacks. So yeah, that's second.
I would add Marcus Semien on FanDuel as like 3-3 or 3-4, and that price is egregious. He's a great play over there.
Yeah.
What do you have for me? Second base there, Grant.
Kike and Cronenworth are the only
I
two
know it was
guys.
Enrique, actually. You guys know it was Kike. But either way, he's a solid play.
Well, it's fair. But yeah, like I'm not really a huge fan of second base. But you can pay up for Altuve and Semien. They're the top two options, but I just don't have the money for them, and I'd rather just pay down a little bit for Kike, or if I really have to, Hands or Alberto. I don't want to. I won't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. But Cronenworth is my favorite spend up just because he's going up against Gutierrez. Gutierrez is supposed to be a pretty extreme splits guy. He gives up a lot more fly balls to lefties than he does to righties. He's sitting in the middle of that lineup. He's right between Tatis and Machado. So Cronenworth's my highest owned guy, but like if you can afford Altuve, throw him in. Semien is not bad, but he's a little bit cheaper on FanDuel, I think. But yeah, second base, I'm just rounding out my stack.
Grant, hot corner, third base.
Hot corner, third base, Machado. Like by far and away, Machado is my favorite. I think Devers is going to go a little bit under-owned in the lefty-lefty matchup, but I'm using him only in stacks. Outside of that, I think that Seager is not the worst idea in the world as a one-off going up against Matz. Matz has been a lot better versus lefties, but he's doing a little bit more splits neutral in the past. So Seager is probably better than his 4.1K price tag, and Matz is going to have a pitch limit in this game. So the Toronto bullpen is not great. But outside of that, there's really not a lot of great options. I mean, Rendon's fine. Like Donaldson is fine going up against Cease. Riley is fine if you need to save some money, but I'm mostly in on Machado and Seager.
Do the White Sox throw out Donaldson after yesterday? I don't know if you saw the shenanigans. Donaldson being his normal self. He was like bragging about no sticky stuff after he had a homer. Did you guys see this against Giolito? Did you guys catch that by chance? Anybody? No?
I did not.
Yeah. Well, Donaldson was being, he seems like one of the more unlikable players in the leagues. Maybe a fun guy as a teammate, but annoying as like on the other side, I suppose. Shortstop, Cardi.
Fernando Tatis. The Padres are the best offense of the day, in my opinion, not just ownership, because they're going to come in lower owned than Toronto and Houston, but they're just better straight up. Vladimir Gutierrez is every bit as bad as Matt Harvey. The Padres are every bit as good of an offense as Houston, and they're in the way better environment. They're in the second best hitter's park in baseball after Coors. It's better weather there. Like Tatis is just a must play. And that's the only thing I would consider doing at shortstop.
Thoughts there, Grant? Anything you want to add as far as shortstop?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much Tatis. Bichette or Bogarts are fine, but yeah, just play Fernando.
Let's jump to the outfield. Who wants outfield? Who wants to lead it off?
I'll lead it off. I mean, I like San Diego, so especially on FanDuel, they're really cheap. Tommy Pham and Will Myers are going to be great plays. We mentioned a bunch of Royal bats already, so Jorge Soler is going to be a really strong option. We mentioned cheap Angels, so Scott Schebler is an option. Hunter Dozier, we mentioned it first, also a Royal, can play in the outfield. Odubel for the Phillies. Grichuk for Toronto, I think is fine. Michael A. Taylor, as a cheap guy in your KC stacks if you want, is fine. Hunter Renfroe, I like quite a bit. It's all guys from these same teams that we've been talking about.
Cardi, in the expert survey today, I'm referencing it again. My sneaky homer of the day was Scotty Schebler. Now it's extra sneaky because he's not even starting. So I probably have to.
Yeah, it's annoying when lineups come out during the show because you can't always see. Yeah, Schebler's not in there. Okay.
Yeah, why wouldn't you put Schebler in Yankee Stadium with this weather?
I mean, it's the perfect spot for him. Why?
Yeah,
because it's Joe Madden. Because Joe Madden thinks having Juan Lagares in there is more. I have no idea.
If he's on your roster, this is the only time you have on your roster for this exact spot. But whatever. Yeah, we'll have to change that. Grant, outfielders.
Casey outfield is too cheap. Tucker and Brantley are both too cheap for Houston. I like the Boston outfield and Kike and JD and Renfroe. Outside of that, like, I mean, Fam's fine, like Grisham's fine, like the San Diego guys, if you want to throw them in a stack. Acuna's always fine as a one-off, especially when he has a platoon split. But realistically, like, I'm almost all in on the Houston, the Casey, and the Boston outfield.
Nobody's playing the Braves, huh?
I thought the Braves were actually going to be kind of popular today, and it doesn't look like they're going to be. So I think they're fine. David Peterson is definitely an underrated pitcher, but I think Braves are fine today.
On DK, our ownership currently has Acuna at 8%, which I think is about right. Is that about right to you, Grant?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems about right to me. All right, we're going to turn the show over to the chat. It's got some questions compiled. Let's go ahead and play the 1 through 5 stack game. Cardi, I'm not sure if you play this before or not, but, give me a 1 if you hate it, a 5 if you love it, and, adjust in between, obviously. Grant, you're going to bat first. Your favorite team, Grant? Seattle, 1 through 5.
2.
Cardi?
3. More as a secondary stack, though, not a full.
The Oakland Athletics.
2.
1, maybe 2.
Miami Marlins.
1.
1.
Baltimore. Look at these teams we're throwing. All the
1.
teams that we have not talked about any of their hitters. What was Baltimore, Grant?
1. I mean, there's a lot of good teams on the slate today.
Yeah.
I'm not messing around with trash ones.
Yeah, I'll say 2.
How about Philadelphia?
3.
All right. Related question: which stacks do you like that don't have weather? Well, don't have weather issues, I suppose. Yeah. So we've been talking about that Boston
Houston.
KC game. Yeah. Toronto. I think Toronto's pretty. Toronto, it's cooler than you want it to be. I think it's in the 70s, right? Last I checked.
Toronto's like one of the coolest games on the slate. That's one of the reasons I think Toronto's a little overrated today, because it is pitcher's weather in more of a pitcher's park than they were playing in earlier this year.
This is a question for Grant. Are you using any groups in MME tonight?
No, I'm not. MME.
Oh. Who is the best? This is for Cardi, obviously. Who's the best? You got to pick one. I know it's tricky. Who's the best lefty masher? Of course, this is for Cardi. Does Cardi have his favorite? It's a lot to choose from. Or is he just refusing to answer and shaking his head? I don't see him.
Yeah, either do I.
Lefty mashers don't exist. They don't. They don't exist.
They do exist. They're not provable.
Devin spliced that and put it on the interwebs. That sounded like an amazing reaction. Peterson and large field GPPs. You got anybody like Peterson? Carter, you just said he's underrated.
I like Peterson a lot as a pitcher. I like him a lot more when he is in Citi Field. Today is not the spot for him.
DK GPP Grant Domingo Herman. I am not on Herman.
No, he's not that great.
How nervous are we about the Kansas City Boston weather? I'm orange is that's only one away from red. Red, I'm super nervous. Orange.
Well,
sure.
I mean, wait and see what Ross says, but you also have to realize that something with an almost certain postponement, I think it becomes orange automatic, or almost certain delay becomes orange automatically.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to pretend like I have a good read as far as the weather. I just yield whatever Ross says, and he'll tell us what to do. And he'll tell us something more clearly at 7:00 as opposed to right now, and we can't answer at 6:17. But of course, that's something you have to monitor. General rules: if you like the Kansas City side or the Boston side, play 8 dudes in that game or play none. Don't play 1, don't play 2 if it's super dicey. If you're gonna take that risk, get the reward. Don't roll the dice and have a one-off in that game. Make sense there, Grant?
That does make sense. You said something coherent. Good for you.
Every once in a while, was it the blind squirrel? Jordan Holloway for punt SP2 in tournaments. I say no. Anybody say yes?
Nope.
Anybody want to make the case for Dylan Cease?
Nope.
There's worse things to do, but I think you can make more of a case for the twin stack.
All right, you got a punt on FanDuel, Cardi. You're playing Nick Mattoon. He's batting 8th tonight at home, or Sheets. He seems like an all or nothing guy. I would presume that's what we're looking at.
Wait, who and who?
Sheets, the first baseman for I don't know if he's actually playing first or DHing, but the big dudes for Chicago, or the number 8 hitter for Philadelphia, Nick Maton.
I think Maton, I think it is. I guess I go Maton. I think he's fine if you need to save money.
All right, let's pick some homers before you step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time. Do like and subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. Make sure you check out myself and Grant and SBK. Mute Marv Albert and listen to us talk some basketball tomorrow night, 8:30. There'll be some drinking as well, I imagine. Yeah, Grant's going to be plenty thirsty for sure.
Hooray.
Home run picks. Grant, I'll let you go first. Be as ambitious as you want to be. Walk that plank. Give me 3. And if you want to go 3 different price level, by all means, go for it.
Renfroe, JD, and Salvador Perez.
Can you pick one in the game that might play?
I mean, no, I can't.
Yeah, I like all those too. What do you have for me, Cardi? Give me 3. See those and raise them.
Fernando Tatis at the high end. I'll go Jared Walsh mid-tier, and I don't know, one of the Royals, whichever one is cheap enough. Soler or whoever you want to have qualify.
Taylor is super cheap at 2.3.
Sure, Taylor. You know what's really funny? The guy, Shohei Ohtani has a 62% chance of getting pinch hit for today, according to the bat, and he still projects for the second most home runs on the slate.
That's awesome.
As a hitter.
It's too bad we can't roster him. I mean, have we had anybody throw 10 strikeouts and hit for? Well, I guess in the National League, in the American League, we probably haven't seen that in a long time since the days of Ruth. Maybe somebody in between. I might probably missing out on, but yeah, it's really special stuff that's going on there in Yankee Stadium. Did you have a thought there, Grant?
About what?
I know. I heard a noise and I thought it was you. Maybe did you bang your microphone or something?
No, I think I was drinking water.
All right. I thought you banging the table. You got excited about Ohtani or something. All right, we got to. They say to end strong, and we didn't, but that's the end. That's it. We got to go. We're getting the light. Devin's going to take us out of here. He's going to bring on the Crunch Time crew for the premium. If you guys want premium, Devin will go ahead and drop that link in chat for you guys. $10 off the first month. Do subscribe, turn on notifications. Watch us Thursday night. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be good times. Good luck tonight. That was Grant. That was Cardi. Thanks to Devin for producing. This was baseball. I was Dean. We're out of here. Holler!